Well, this year we've had Violent Night and Christmas Bloody Christmas, but did you know there's one more 2022 Christmas horror movie that we haven't discussed? And I know that Violent Night isn't necessarily a Christmas horror movie, although there's plenty of blood, okay? But yeah, The Apology is another Christmas horror movie. We're going to discuss it right now, so let's go. The Apology stars Anna Gunn, Linus Roach, Janine Garofalo, and is directed by Allison Locke. What's up, guys? We are knee-deep in December. You can almost smell 2023, okay? And I was going to do like a ranking for the Silent Night, Deadly Night series. I might still do that. I put it off, I swear, like every December, but I might do that. But there was one more Christmas horror movie that snuck in on Shudder called The Apology. It just came to Shudder. And just yesterday, I was looking at things to watch, and that one popped out at me. Anna Gunn, who plays Skylar in Breaking Bad. By the way, guys, I haven't reviewed Breaking Bad. My all-time favorite TV show. Like, it is, besides The Incredible Hulk from when I was a child, but that doesn't really count. I'm telling you, though, Breaking Bad is just one of the most amazing television shows ever created. As far as, like, a character arc and what they did with Walter White. And I think Skylar, the character Skylar, played marvelously by Anna Gunn, is extremely important to that show. And I always ponder, like, what is it about Skylar? Because she's one of the most debated characters in the show. Some people hate her, some people understand her, and even some people love her. But I have to say, when you have a character that is that multi-layered, it takes a special type of actor to bring that to the screen. And Anna Gunn just does such a beautiful job in that show. You know, there are just full-on debates about the character of Skylar and what she goes through throughout that show. So when I saw that she is actually the star of this movie, The Apology, I got really interested. And the fact that it is set on Christmas, okay? Christmas Eve. But first off, let's give you a quick plot synopsis. Anna Gunn plays the main character, Darlene, and she is kind of a mess because 20 years ago, her daughter went missing, and she never found out what happened to her. Every Christmas is just really tough for her because it's hard to celebrate a holiday about family without, you know, a loved one, especially a child. And this child has been missing. She doesn't know what has happened to her. And I think a lot of people can just relate to this. Not necessarily that they've lost a child or something like that, but I think a lot of people just have a tough time during the holidays for whatever reason. It just happens. But along comes this character, Jack, who is a family member, a long-lost family member. He disappeared like 19 years ago. He had a falling out with Darlene's sister. He was married to the sister, and so I guess they divorced, and so he was gone from the picture. Kind of peculiar, right? 19 years ago. He comes back just kind of unannounced, and there's supposed to be this big Christmas party that Darlene is throwing on Christmas Day, and he shows up on Christmas Eve. And, you know, there's just this big snowstorm outside, so she tells him instead of going and getting a hotel, you can stay here the night. And that is a good moment for them to catch up on the past because the two actually have a history together, I guess, outside of just being in-laws. And you can just imagine when you have reconnected with somebody after decades, it's got to be a shock to the system and just catching up and really just sharing, you know, what your life has been. And of course, he knows about her tragedy that has happened. As you can imagine, he knows some information about what went on and he wants to share it with her. And there's this kind of proposal like, what would you do if you actually found out who that person was? Would you want revenge on them? Would you just want the child back or where the child is? Or, you know, even worse, is the child actually dead? Just to at least have that closure. So this movie poses a lot of those questions at the audience that are kind of irresistible to explore. Quite a few things I really liked about this movie. First off, yeah, it is a Christmas horror movie, or really just a thriller. But it's unlike any other Christmas horror movie I've ever seen. This is much more focused in, you know, and it's only a couple characters. There's literally 3 characters throughout this whole movie. And it's heavy, it's dark, you know, dealing with a tragedy, a loss. Whereas a lot of Christmas horror movies, they're more fun, you know, killer Santas, stuff like that. No, this is a very dramatic movie. Just happens to be set on Christmas Eve. And what better holiday than Christmas to explore, you know, family themes? This one does it quite well, actually. Also, this movie is just an example of, you know, you can tell this is low budget. The whole movie is in one house. You're really paying 3 actors for this movie. So you're getting the most bang for your buck because you happen to have 3 actors that give really great performances, especially Anna Gunn and Linus Roach. Janeane Garofalo, of course, is great. She's Janeane Garofalo, but she happens to be this character, Gretchen, and she is Darlene's best friend, who is very important in the movie. But the movie's well-paced because these are 2 characters that are just, you know, for most of the movie, discussing the past and you know, catching up. And so there are these key moments throughout of, I guess you could call them action fillers that happen for a reason to kind of pace out the movie. So that way it's just not 2 hours of 2 characters talking. There are definitely things that happen along this movie, especially in the last act. And I mean especially in the last act. This movie definitely has payoff. Anna Gunn's acting is phenomenal. You know, this is a character that's tormented, that's tortured because not knowing. And she handles those emotions beautifully throughout. You know, you just really feel for her. And there's so many times in this movie where you get lost in the character. You can tell that she really herself got lost in the character. And it doesn't feel like acting. It feels very natural. And Linus Roach, thankfully, is this great counterbalance for her to play off of. And boy, is he an interesting character because he's a big question mark, okay? Elephant in the room. You're wondering, what the hell does this guy know? Why did he leave 19 years ago? And could he be the guy? You know? All those questions are there. They are answered too, by the way. Now, the last act was the one thing that I was really worried about because for the first 2 acts, it is setting things up. And so you're just hoping and praying that there's going to be this big final showdown and some payoff. And I will just say this movie definitely delivers big time. It gets really intense, okay? Let's put it that way. And I just was rooting for this character, Darlene, all the way. Now, as far as any cons, I kind of alluded to it when I was talking about the character, Jack. I guarantee you're going to be asking yourself questions about this character after everything is said and done. Why would he return 19 years later and they're not really questioning that, you know? That's kind of the big issue I think that this movie does have. I think they could have handled that issue in the script a little bit better because it just makes it that much more, I guess, predictable. But having said that, even if you are able to predict who he is, it doesn't affect the enjoyment of the story whatsoever. This isn't really a big twist ending type of movie, and you're going to realize that quite early. This is a character-based movie with these 2 characters dealing with this situation, and is there going to be some closure? You know, there are certain movies that are just built around that twist, like the Scream movies, you know? You want to be surprised at what happens in the end. I'll just say you're not going to be surprised, even before you find out what happens. You're not going to go into this wanting, like, ooh, I wonder what's going to happen. Am I going to be surprised? It's not that type of movie at all, you know? It's a character dealing with a tragedy, and what is the outcome of that after these 2 characters meet? Because I'm going to admit, you know, I pretty much called this movie from the beginning, but I wasn't going into it thinking that I was going to be really pissed off if it didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. No, not at all. I was giving this movie free reign to go however it wanted to go, if that makes sense. So in the end, guys, I definitely am giving this movie a purchase worthy. I was quite surprised by it. I loved the performances, and sometimes you want just a smaller scale movie with just some great performances, you know, leading the charge. And this one definitely gives that. I do like the Christmas atmosphere as well. You know, I was quite pleased by this movie. So anyway, please check out The Apology on Shudder. Also, let me know what you guys think of it once you see it in the comments. Be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays, we do Free for Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on my socials. Support me on Patreon. Buy me a coffee. And you guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. And Drumdum out.